Welcome back to the wonderful world of Professional Wrestling, the podcast. I'm your host, as always, Jonathan Hacohen, and that Rocky guy over there that's scaring the bejeebers out of me, he's not a guy to mess with on the street or in the ring. He's professional wrestler Mason Rush. Mason, welcome back to our program.
Oh, it's great to be here. I feel like I never left. It feels like home.
It kind of does not?
It does. I feel more at home in this studio than in the other one. Don't tell the other guy, but I think we could stay here. I like it.
We'll see how it works out for us. You never know. Sometimes we could be in front of a table. We could be in front of a ring. We may
Did you say tables?
Oh, we're not. You're not putting me to this table. No.
I'm excited.
Don't get the table.
Okay.
Baba, don't get the
Got
table.
me excited.
Devon, don't get the table.
These are nice tables. So I won't think about it.
As we start today's episode, I gotta ask you, Mason Rush, did you go and see Jeremiah Direct Nissan?
I did.
And did you get your 17,000 off your Armada yet?
I went to Jeremiah. I did not get the Armada because he sold out. There were none left. He's getting new shipment in, but when I went, he had the deal was so good they sold out. So I'm on a list to get one.
You contact our sponsor, Jeremiah Direct. You go over to the Nissan dealership, and Jeremiah's going to look after you. I know he's looked after you in the past. Looks after all your friends. Jeremiah is the car guy.
We only trust Jeremiah.
The fact that his manager hates him so much because he's giving out 2 good deals, that's the kind of sales guy you want.
It's a good problem to have. Listen, we ran out of cars. I sold them all. It's a good problem to have.
You know, an average salesperson lucky to sell maybe a car a day, they really end up selling like 1 or 2 a month. He sold 3 in one day.
And not only that, but he's got some serious acting chops. If you visit his Instagram, you won't be disappointed. I'll tell you that.
You contact Jeremiah Direct, he'll DM you now, but in 5 years from now, good luck in reaching that guy.
He may even send you a meme or two if you're lucky.
If you're lucky. So, my friend, professional wrestling. We had your buddy on from HPW, one Van Landen.
Van Champion.
Van, you saw that.
Van is a champion.
Van Champion. He's loving that belt. I heard that he showers
Well
with the
earned.
belt. He sleeps with the belt. He says his prayers with the belt. He loves that belt.
He like I said in a post, he was always the champion. Now he just has a belt.
Love that. And he's a fantastic human being, actually.
Great guy, well deserving, and badass dude. Good luck taking that belt from his cold, dead fingers. He's not going to let that go very easily. He's worked his whole life for that thing.
Well, one day you may be giving him an elbow rub as you're walking in the dressing room there, and you never know.
Listen,
Never know where it goes.
I don't make the matches, but it is a business, and whatever happens, happens.
Well, I'll tell you this much. I do know somebody who does make matches or used to make matches. So I wanted to run some theories by you because I know I ran them by Van Landen and he had his thoughts on it.
Okay.
So now I needed the Mason Rush rub on these theories because if you can give me the okay, I believe it's going to happen. So Mason Rush, riddle me this, Riddler. So we have a one Vincent Kennedy McMahon, okay? Vincent Kennedy McMahon that has got some legal issues, been ostracized a little bit from the world of wrestling. It's gone on. Okay, we understand that. We know that. We won't get into the specifics, but it's an interesting read if you ever want to read the lawsuit and then read his defense and all that. But my sources are very adamant that a one Vincent K. McMahon has taken his TKO stock and has liquidated it all. So, is he buying an island in Fiji? Is he buying yet another yacht? No. Would you like to know what he's going to be planning to do with that money?
At behind the scenes, he's going to do something like that. However, we've seen Vince do some crazy stuff. So it's not out of the playbook, but I think logic would say that he turned the keys over to his family, right? And whether he was ousted or not or whatever happens, I think he's a great actor. I think he's done ridiculous things in the ring, storylines. I won't even say them because they're not PG enough on this show to say what he did back in the day in the Attitude Era. But yeah, no, I think he has the capability to do it. He has the money to do it, but I don't think he has the energy to replicate perfection, which would take a lifetime.
Let's assume that his legal case goes his way somewhat, in the sense that he gets to arbitration, mediation, however he's able to pull it together, confidentiality, gets it settled out one way or the other, and he moves past that. Maybe his name gets cleared, maybe it doesn't. Even if his name gets cleared at this point, I don't see it's ever the same, in the sense that I don't think TKO would welcome him back with open arms. I think that he's been ostracized in this age of political correctness. He ain't coming back to WWE. The door is completely closed on that chapter. And I think he understands that. That's part of the reasoning of dumping the stock. But the other part of it is, I think he's all about legacy. Like when I wrote the Bible 3.0, my legacy was, I'm gone from this earth. I left art that will be there for generations to come. In his mind, he wanted to be remembered as the WWE guy, but by the merger, and he thought he could continue on with them. Now that he's out, he can't leave his legacy this way. I think the ego in him will say, I need to show that I can play with the big boys. I'm going out on top, or I'm going to die trying, and my billions are going into it. So that's my reasoning for that. And we're going to talk about the two cons. They're not related. But let's start off with, we got Nick, right? Nick, who many would say is the genius behind WWE now. He's the guy who's signing the contracts. He's getting these TV deals with Netflix. And he's the guy, the mastermind, that WWE has to have him in there regardless. So happens that the word on the street is that he dumped his TKO stock as well. If, I'm not saying if, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if Nick was to join, finish off his contract in WWE and join Vincent and go and create this new wrestling federation with Nick Khan in place as his right-hand man, are you seeing it differently?
No.
No.
Never Vince McMahon, never Nick Khan, but how many top families, names, wrestlers have left the Golden Goose WWE because they can go and do it better? How many? Jarrett, Cody Rhodes did. Like a lot of people leave and go start their own federation. They think they can do it better, and what happens? Right?
They fall on their face.
Because you can't sell out arenas without an A++ product that appeals to demographics all across the board, right? AEW has a certain demographic. WWE is a whole demographic: men, women, old, young. They bring out everyone to the show. So yeah, I don't think that just because Nick Khan is going to, right, if they didn't have Triple H, if they didn't have Shawn Michaels, right, big time superstars with big weight behind their names carrying the torch, I could see where you're coming from. But Triple H is going to take it and run with it. I don't think there's a world where Vince McMahon is disowned by his family. They never talk. They don't have dinner together. They don't chat on the phone. The grandkids don't see. There's no way, which means what? It means that it's kind of a work, right? It does seem a bit like a work, which is something that's right in their playbook as well. So just because you sold your stocks doesn't mean you're going to go and try to create a rival company to the one you built.
The third piece of this puzzle, in my mind, is Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett, who, with his dad at the time when he was alive, they created TNA, which later got taken over by Dixie Carter and her family because they were missing the money bags aspect of it, but they had the wrestling smarts of it. Jeff Jarrett comes from a legacy of booking and knowing how to run a wrestling organization. That's what he grew up with. You have Jeff Jarrett, which now there's talk of him now, either he just started it or it's in the works of it, creating another wrestling federation in the TNA mold, but you put Vincent Kennedy McMahon's intelligence plus money into it, I think we're into something over here. And unless Nick Khan gets shown the door because you're a Vince guy, you're an old WWE guy, and we want you out, but I don't think TKO is that dumb. I also don't think they're going to let go of Triple H. But if TKO says, we want our control, we want to banish everything from the Vince era, and Triple H is gone, and Nick Khan is gone, and Vince starts a new federation, and they're joined up now, and all of a sudden you got Triple H, Nick Khan, and Jeff Jarrett. This is the difference between AEW to me and this new federation is the fact that you got Tony Khan, who has the money with his dad, really his dad, and got his inheritance early, but he's the booker, he's the everything. They were supposed to bring in other wrestlers and allow them the freedom to be able to make their matches, and that didn't go so well. So then Tony took away their ball and said, no more recess for you, I'm going to do it. But you put Vince's mind and you put Jeff Jarrett's mind, and you're actually in running the show. I think AEW is in a different place right now. And that's where I'm going to tell you the next piece of it, which I proposed to Van Landen, which he was quite shocked, is AEW, if you really want to play with WWE and you want to have that shock factor on an AEW pay-per-view, I'm just saying if, picture this now. Tony Khan comes out and says, I've been hinting for you for weeks. I have the missing piece that you never saw coming. And now we have a new force in AEW, and he makes a deal with the devil, and Vince McMahon comes out and shakes Tony Khan's hand. WWE's watching this. TKO's watching it. You think they're nervous?
No, not at all. I think they're laughing, and it looks desperate, and it looks like a last-ditch Ric Flair energy drink starting. Let's go out with a bang, but fail miserably. How's Ric Flair's energy drink doing?
Where can you buy it?
Right? So how's Prime doing?
I heard pretty decent.
Yeah, I think so, right? So that's the difference in pop that you'll get from being with a real product like WWE that millions, hundreds of millions of people tune into every single week versus AEW that, right, has to black out all the seats because they don't want to show that there's no one there to watch. So the proof is in the pudding. I don't think at this point, I think it's great that everyone who wrestles wants to start a wrestling federation and does. And right, a lot of wrestlers will wrestle for free or very little money just to get the exposure. But at a certain point, if you're not paying people, you're not going to attract the best talent, right? And if you're not the best league, you're not going to attract the best talent, right? Like, again, this is a sidetrack, but if you look at the way that WWE and NXT and the whole organization is starting to funnel wrestlers through, it's not just bring them. They're you know who they are before they walk out. You know they're doing a really good job at pushing young stars, old stars, feuding, bringing them together. You don't have the history, you don't have the clout in any other federation to do something like that. So no matter who you could bring, Donald Trump, Vince McMahon, and Mark Zuckerberg, all three of them with trillions of dollars. You still can't buy your fans.
So last question for today as we end today's episode. And this has been fascinating because I was really curious to take your take on this. I know my take. And I know the fans are going to have their diverse takes for certain. And I know you don't hold back, which I appreciate. But let's take Vince out of the equation. There's no Vince. There's no Nick. But let's say Triple H, the hot rumor after WrestleMania was that Triple H was going to show the door. That he brought them to WrestleMania, and all of a sudden, they're going to pull the bag from under him, and yet we have the Triple H era and everything else. But let's say there's a world where TKO says, you know what, Triple H, it's been real. You've been great. You helped us through this transition, but we want it to be our show now, so we're going to bring in our people. And his non-compete ends. Tony Khan comes to Triple H and says, listen, I loved what you did with NXT. I need you to build us an NXT now. We need AEW Light, or whatever the heck you're going to call it. And we're going to start up a real performance center. And you're going to run that. And you're going to run our shows. And you're going to do our bookings. And you're going to be running this show. I'm going to be hands off. I'm just going to hand you paychecks. How are you feeling about AEW now?
I think it'll be the best second fiddle to WWE. Always. No matter what. Every sport has tried to do that. Football, hockey, every sport has tried to create a duplicate league to copy the success of the big league. And it
how's the XFL doing?
Another Vince product, right? And what the XFL just had to merge with the other USFL to create the UFL because none of them could survive, right? So it's a great goal. It's a great vision. Everybody wants to beat the top dog, but at a certain point, I think WWE is too big to fail, if that makes sense. It's at the TV deals, the merchandise deals with Chalkline, with these big companies, right, that do billions of dollars of business. At a certain point, you could take away Triple H. They could show him the door, and you'll have 2 weeks of crybabies online that I'm never watching again. And guess what they're gonna watch a week later?
Steven Regal.
Sure.
/ William Regal.
Whoever, Regal or Aldis or Pierce, who are both doing amazing jobs, right? Like, they'll figure it out. They'll put a new face in it. That's what they do best. So yeah, I don't think there's a world you can sell me on where anyone is coming in and stealing anything from WWE.
If I was Shane McMahon, at every single family function, Thanksgiving, Christmas, birthdays, whatever, I couldn't get past it. I would say, we could have owned UFC, right? I told you to buy them, Dad, and now we are them. And I told you. But the thing is, if there was a world where Vince had listened to Shane and done that, I think UFC is nowhere close to where they are today. I think UFC should count their blessings that Vince, in his crazy attitude era mode, would have been running UFC. Where's WCW now? I don't think UFC been a good play. I think Bellator right now would be on top.
I think, well said. You can't just duplicate perfection, right? You have to be in the world. You have to be organic, right? The Fertitas, Dana White could not have done a better job bringing the UFC to the point where they merged with a massive company like WWE to create TKO in the first place. So, I think both things worked out great.
And if you're not sure about that, folks, what I would tell you is go and check out the XFL history and look up something in the archives back from my day. It was something called the World Bodybuilding Federation, which Vince McMahon took to WWF at the time and said, I'm going to do a bodybuilding thing because we're all using natural products, so we might as well just create a bodybuilding federation. This can't miss. It came and went in 2 seconds. So it's quite
all these guys, Trump Steaks, Trump University, Trump Airlines, Trump, like, they all think I did it, so everything I touch is going to turn to gold. It's a common theme for wealthy people.
Be quite the interesting dinner to be sitting with Mr. Trump and Mr. McMahon and hearing their thoughts on life. I'm sure they'd have a lot to discuss. This has been Professional Wrestling, the podcast, where you never know where we're going to be going with things. And stay tuned for next week, because we're going to be checking out Mason Rush and talk about Hamilton Pro Wrestling and what's going on in the indie scene. And we're going to find out from an insider. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned.